Today I decided to show you how to be the greatest duelist of all time, and we're not just talking about Master Duel. We're finally talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! The TCG. This is the OCG. The TCG. Now, a lot of you guys have been playing Master Duel. That is if you play Master Duel. Some of you guys watch both me, Siriax, Dotto without actually playing Master Duel. But a lot of you that do play Master Duel and you dabble in the real thing, the TCG, which is the paper version of the game, is actually slightly different because of the card pool that's available, number one, and two, different ban lists. For example, Crossout Designator is at 3 in the TCG, but it's at 1 in both Master Duel and the OCG. As you guys know, my favorite deck right now, and might be my favorite deck of all time, is the White Forest stuff, but we're not going to see these cards right here, which just came out like 2 days ago in Japan. We're not going to see these cards until May. Well, lucky for you, I can show you how to be the greatest White Forest player of all time so you're ready when that day comes. But before I begin, I do want to do more modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Content like this where I'm not just playing, but also kind of being more educational and teaching you guys. So if there's any feedback you can tell me to do better with these to improve it so it's easier to follow, that's even if you care about this kind of content, then leave a like on this video and let me know how to make it better. But for now, I just kind of want to do more educational content because I'm very passionate about Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just love the game. So without further ado, let's just hop into it. The first things first, let's talk about the actual breakdown. I will at the end explain why I have my ratios the way I have them. If you want to just jump to that, by all means go to the end of the video, but just to keep it simple and get right into the actual video and the meat of it, I'll explain my ratios right now. So we have 1 Nibiru, 1 Droll, 1 Veiler. We have 3 copies of Fuvalos. We have 3 Ash Blossoms. We have 1 Crossout and 2 Callby, but this is only because this simulator follows the OCG rules where Crossout's at 1 and Callby's at 2. But in TCG, Crossout's at 3 and Callby's at 1. So my actual deck, I run 3 copies of Crossout and 1 Callby, so just kind of keep that in mind. And I'll explain why as I play, or I might explain it at the end of it. I'm not really sure yet. We have 3 copies of Imperm. For board breakers, we have 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. So if you go second, and if you can get Fuvalos to resolve, you can draw a lot of these. It could potentially help you go in second. We have the Fiendsmith engine. If you notice, I only have 1 copy of Engraver and 1 Lacrima. All you need. You can technically do the 3 if you want, but again, keep in mind, this deck can get very tight, so you want to make sure that you don't have too many cards, because the more cards you have, the less of a chance you have to draw the correct card at whenever you go first or even second to do your combos. We have 1 copy of Duel Star, 3 Sylvies, 3 Ozettes, 1 Stellar. I will argue, though, that a Stellar is a lot better than people say it is. A lot of people say that you should run Sylvia at 3 and a Stellar at 1. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed if you do 2 and 2. If this card resolves, it's way better than this card resolving. The thing is, if you summon this and they Imperm or Veiler you, or even Ash Blossom you, your turn ends if you have no extender. Same thing can be said about this. If they Imperm, Veiler you, or Ash you, your turn pretty much ends. However, if this card resolves, it's a lot better than this card resolving. And the reason why is because when this card resolves, you add a White Forest spell trap in your hand. Whereas if this card resolves, you summon Sylvie, which adds a White Forest spell trap in your hand. So this card is way better to resolve. However, I guess technically this one hurts more because in order to resolve it, you need to drop a spell trap, and sometimes you might break and not have that. Therefore, people will argue this is a lot better. So it varies, to be honest. Then we have the brand new Duel Star, the Sin Adjudicator, whatever the card end up calling this card in English. We have no idea yet. This card is insane. And we have also we have LZ, which just came out in Supreme Darkness. But the other one is Duel's the White Witch. This card is also insane. And then finally we have 1 copy Rusia, which I can actually argue you don't really need. But if you open up with this and you have a White Forest card, it's fantastic. But you'll probably notice that if you have the correct combo, you'll probably go for this card a lot less. It's nice if it's in your opening hand. So if there's any card to cut, I will not be opposed to cutting this, if I can be real with you. Then you have 1 copy of Tails. Notice I said 1, you don't need 2. 1 copy of Wanted. It's at 3 in the TCG, but it's at 1 in the OCG. 1 Phillies Duel, 1 Deception. You can run 3 copies of Witches, but again, I'm trying to keep it at 40, so I only need 2. And honestly, with how many stars you have, 2 is fine. And then we have 1 Howler Azamina, 1 Simple Spells of White Forest, and finally, Curse of the Duel. As far as the extra deck, we have 1 copy of Requiem, Sequence, Moon, SPLO Knight. Bow, you don't need, but this card is sick. So I tossed it in there. You actually, in the right situation, can get this on board as well and have a lot of interruptions, which I'll show you once we get into it. We have 1 copy of Mystic Mystery of White Forest. We have the White Forest Synchro package. So we have Silvera, Arciela, and Duel. We have the brand new Snake Eyes Execute Dragon, which, look at this card, is absolutely insane with the art. Then we have Sylvia, Arceolago for the Azamina Fusion package. We have obviously Desiree to go along with the Fiendsmith setup. And then finally, you have Saint Azamina and Azamina. Both of these cards are insane, and I feel like you should run them. For starters, if you summon this, you can also summon your Omni Negate. So if you have a situation where you have 2 Sinful Spoils in your hand and you have Hallowed, you can summon Saint Azamina, and once this card's summoned, it allows you to special summon this. So you have your Omni Negate. It's crazy. And then if this card ends up being alive, by the way, when it goes back to you, you can literally Super Poly Contact Fusion your opponent's field away. Well, just 1 card. By attributing 1 monster they control and 1 Saint Azamina, you get to summon this. And look at this card's effect. Can be destroyed by card effect. Every time your opponent activates and resolves a card, everything loses 500 attack on your field. And when something gets 0, it can't activate the effect. So just for this being out, they can't Veiler you, they can't Ash you, and they can't basically activate anything that has 0 attack. And like I said, if Saint Azamina survives, you get to summon this for free by attributing your Saint Azamina and 1 card that they control. So it's insane. Also, in the right situation, you can summon his first turn, but from what I remember from the test hands that I've done, it's not always super optimal, so you don't really have to do that. But if you can, it gets crazy, because all you gotta do is activate Hallowed Azamina by having 3 Sinful Spoils cards in your hand. So let's say, theoretically, if I have Deception and either Wanted or Sinful Spoils of White Forest, and the Belstar Azamina Adjudicator, you can summon it, because this card always counts as Sinful Spoils. And this card, you can summon either from hand or graveyard, so it's actually insane. So yeah, that's that. At the end of the video, I'll explain why I chose the ratios that I chose, so we're just gonna hop into combos first. Alright, so what am I supposed to do, Rhyme? Teach me how to play the deck at full power. I somewhat know what it does in Master Duel. What does the new cards do that's so crazy? Well, luckily we're playing against a bot, so they're not gonna interact with us, but I'll also show you how to interact in situations where they do have the craziest of opening hands, whether they have like Ash, Emperor, Veil, all that stuff. So, alright, this hand is fantastic. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pretend that they have the craziest cards in their opening hand. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to, man, that's a good question. If I activate this and send a spell or trap away and they Ash Blossom me, I mean, I can still do a lot, but I wanna be able to use this later. So I think the best play you can do to play around what your opponent might have is let's try to bait out the Ash Blossom. Play Wanted first. Luckily we drew our 1 of. You don't have Ash, great. A lot of people will still Ash Blossom Wanted out of pure fear because of all the trauma that this deck caused with the power of Snake Eye. And if they Ash that, great. You got to just go in at that point. So, the beauty of the Belstar Azamina Adjudicator, if you already happen to have the Belstar in your hand, is you get to just send this card to the graveyard and still play from the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and send this right now. So we're going to bait out the Veiler or the Imperm that they might have in their hand. Activate it. Let's see what we got. Nothing. And with this, you're almost always going to go for Deception. There's a situation where you might go for this, but trust me, you don't need it. Because the goal right now is to set up an Omni Negate in case they happen to have Nibiru's. Just kind of, we're going down a checklist. What's going to hurt me the most? Veiler, Imperm, Ash, Nibiru. Troll will absolutely kill us, which is why we run Call By at 1 and then Cross Out at 3. But in this situation, it's Call By at 1 and Cross Out at 1 because we are on, Call By at 2, sorry, and Cross Out at 1 because we're using OCG rules in the simulator. So we're going to go ahead and activate Deception of the Sinful Spoils. And we're going to go ahead and sacrifice our Dia Belstar because she served her purpose. And grab Hallowed Azamina, the deck to our hand. So at this point, we have full combo. So all we got to do is activate Hallowed Azamina. And we could do Arceolago, which will add another Sinful Spoils card, but we don't need that in this situation. We want our Omni Negate. Again, we are scared of Nibiru. Nibiru is something that a lot of people choose not to play around, which is why a lot of people tend to lose if that's in your opponent's hand. You should always assume that Nibiru is in their hand. The rock is very real. And we're not talking about Dwayne here. Okay. So now we're here. So I have 2 options. I can either activate LZ and send this away, or I can try to dig for a card and try to draw something else. Honestly, this is still full combo, so we can technically just do it. So we're gonna go ahead and activate this and send Woes away. Because the only reason why Woes is a good card in the beginning is if anything else gets interrupted. But again, you want to play, let's say Woes, I mean Witches. Witches you always want to play last. Sorry. There's a lot of White Forest cards, so I might mix up my terminology, but Witches and White Forest is what I'm talking about here. Okay, so, we're gonna normal summon. We don't have a spell or trap, so we're not gonna add a Stellar. We're gonna go ahead and activate this to grab Tales of the White Forest, which you're 90% of the time going to do. Boom. And then now we're gonna go into a Synchro play and summon Arceolago, using both of these. Boom. And Arceolago, Arceala. See what I mean? Arceolago is the evil version of this card. When you summon Arceala, God, I'm gonna confuse the hell out of everybody. Like, you're saying the wrong cards, Ryan. You're supposed to be expert. when you activate this, you send a spell or trap to from the hand or field to the graveyard, and you get to search your White Forest cards. So we're gonna go ahead and send Tails, and the beauty of Tails is when you send it, you actually get to recycle it and put it back on the field. So with this, in this situation, because we do need a level 2, we are going to grab the brand new LZ Azamina of the White Forest. Boom. And again, because we send Tails away, Tails is gonna reset itself like this, and it doesn't matter. We'll just put it over here. Now we're going to activate LZ Azamina of the White Forest. And what this card does is you have two options. You can either reveal, well, to summon it, you just reveal it and then you summon it. But this card has two uses. Number one, you can activate it and just fusion summon something right off the bat, which you're probably never gonna do. But the real treat with this card is when you send it away as a synchro material, you get to just search a simple spells card. Absolutely insane. So with this, what we're gonna do first, so we have an option. We can either activate Tails, or we're gonna activate Tails regardless. Let's activate Tails. And let's see, the only card in this situation that's useful right now is gonna be Rusia, because these are all normal summons. And we already activated LZ, so we're gonna go ahead and add that. Now the question is do I wanna grab this again, or do I wanna grab White Forest? Honestly, nah, there's only one option here. We're gonna grab White Forest. We're gonna go ahead and summon Duel, Queen of White Forest first. Boom. And what this card does is when it's summoned, you get to add a spell or trap from your hand. Easy peasy. But again, because we use LZ Azamina White Forest as well, we get to actually add a simple spells card as well. Now, for the purposes of this, we have a chance to choose what's more important to grab and basically chain block in case your opponent did save the Ash Blossom or something for the longest, or Ghost Spell, for example. In this situation, it's more important to grab this back, so we'll activate this first as Chain Link 1, and then let's just grab, which is the White Forest, and then Chain Link 2 to grab simple spells or the White Forest. Man, the tongue twist is going to get crazy better in this video, so my apologies. Which is the only card I can grab from the deck anyway. And then we grab that. Now, again, as I mentioned, once you activate this card and you choose to add, you're locked out of your dark cards the rest of the turn, which we don't want to do just quite yet. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and recycle Sylvie by sending Arciela back. And we're going to do our Fiendsmith package first. Set this here. And then because I have Rusia, I'm just going to summon this card for free. Boom. You know what? I'm greedy. I'm going to activate Rusia to send simple spells to the White Forest to draw another card. And the reason why is because, fantastic. Since you sent this card away, this also has an effect like all the other White Forest cards do, where if it's sent away for effect, you get to reset it. Boom. So it's basically a free draw. Okay. Now we're going to go into the infamous combo for Fiendsmith. We're going to go into our Moon. The only reason why you run this card is not for the effect to, you know, basically Underworld Goddess your opponent for 2 cards. It's because this is a light fiend and it's generic. You can make it with any deck. That's why you should be running Fiendsmith in every single deck possible. Then we go into Requiem over here. Boom. With Requiem, you're going to activate the effect to Quake Effect tribute itself and summon Lacrima from the deck. Lacrima. And when Lacrima is summoned, she sends any Fiendsmith card from the deck to the graveyard, which you only have one option. And we're going to be sending Engraver. Now here's a neat little trick. This deck and this engine, the Fiendsmith engine, has so much cohesiveness. Check this out. We're going to activate Requiem, which lets itself attach to a non-fusion monster, if I remember correctly. A non-fusion Fiendsmith monster. So we're going to attach to Lacrima. And then we're going to activate Diabels to use that as cost. Boom. Beautiful, ain't it? With Diabels, you're always going to do one thing and one thing only, unless they add more cards in the future. You're going to send Curse away. What Curse does when it's sent away is it lets you add a Diabel spell or trap from the deck to your hand. And again, we only have one target. Phileas! Or whatever they end up calling this card when it comes out in the TCG. They love doing that where they just change the cards completely. But we don't have to worry about this now because we already have Diabel Star in the graveyard. And what this card does is you're going to use this to essentially search for your new Diabel Star to level 8 from the deck and add it to your hand. And also, when this card is banished to summon the new Diabel Star, it increases the attack of all Diabel monsters in the field by 500. All right, so now we're here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and recycle our Engraver. So we're going to go ahead and choose Moon of the Closed Heavens. Put that back in the extra deck, summon this over here. And then immediately, we're going to go into our sequence combo. Go into sequence. Boom, boom. And now we're going to go ahead and summon our Fiendsmith Desiree, which is an insane card. We're going to go ahead and shuffle all this back. And in case you don't know what Desiree is, in case you're brand new to the engine and you only play Master Duel, Desiree is essentially an Omni-Negate, a non-targeting Omni-Negate for cards on the field based on how many links are attached to it. So right now, there's nothing attached to it. So I have two options. I can either attach this card right now to it, but that's a waste. Or we can summon something else. So what I'm gonna do, let's see, can I even get to that right now? I can show you the cool way of doing it. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go ahead and just, for the purpose of this tutorial, well, first of all, yeah, we'll first do this. Before we play Witches of the White Forest, we're gonna go into Bow. So this is a link to, we're gonna use this, and let's say we use, I'm gonna keep this one actually. Let's get rid of Sylvia. You probably shouldn't do that, FYI, in case they do have that in Nibiru, in which case you would get nibbed here. But for the purposes of why I run Bow in this deck, I'll show you. Bow. What you can do with Bow right now is you drop a card. Let's get rid of, I guess, Phileas, because we already used this. You get to banish itself, and then you just get to straight up summon Desiree again, which is why I chose to run this card as an option in this deck. You're not always going to use it, but it's a possibility. And then Sequence, you can activate either from the field or graveyard. Absolutely insane. Boom. And then at the end phase, Bow does come back, which is what's cool about it. All right, and now we're gonna go into our, let's see, do we want to do that? Yes. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and recycle Hallowed Azamina back into our hand. We'll send this for now. We're just getting ammo in our hand. Boom. And then we're gonna go ahead and summon our Diabell Star now. Yeah. So we're gonna banish, always banish Phileas, because that's gonna give you a boost for all your Diabell cards. Banish that, and then banish Curse. Summon this right here. Boom. Look at that. And then activate the effect of Phileas, and now all your Diabell cards are strong. So this is what we're looking like. And also, I'm gonna go ahead and activate this now. You can technically, let's say worst case scenario, if you have a bunch of bricks and you bait out all your opponent's hand traps, you can play Witches of the White Forest last, and then you essentially get to do the same combo, but you don't get to use dark cards, which is fine because this deck that I built doesn't run that many dark cards to begin with. We'll add a card because it doesn't really matter. Let's say we add a Stellar. Why not? And what this card does is, outside of being a generic searcher, you also have two effects with it. The first time each of your White Forest cards will be destroyed by battle, they're not, so it's kind of nice. It protects from damage. And you can target one White Forest monster you control and treat it as a tuner. So in this situation, I can turn Diabell into a level 8 tuner. So if I have something else in the field I can make something else an extra deck with, I can. You're probably not going to use that effect as much. You can also technically use your level 2. So for example, like my Stellar, LZ, or LZ Azamina White Forest, you can use those as tuners as well. And let's say combine it with, like, I don't know, this or that, and then go into like Chaos Angel or anything else. There's some utility behind it, but you're not going to use it that much. But the reason why I like playing this at the end here is because you get the protection from your White Forest cards being strong. And Diabell's the White Witch, which is always treated as a White Forest card, and Diabell, Queen of White Forest, are basically protected. Because what this card does is, if you have another Diabell monster on the field, your cards can't be destroyed by card effects. So if they activate Raigeki or something, this and this will be safe. I can also technically negate it, but you know what I mean. And then this protects them from getting attacked at least once, which is nice. All right, so now we're here. What else do we want to do? Why not just go for another draw, I guess? So we're gonna go ahead and banish our Wanted, and we'll send, let's just send, yeah, that's fine. We'll just send that back. Draw another card. Beautiful. Look at that. Great draw. And then we set. So, what does this field do? As I briefly mentioned, what Desiree does is a quick effect where you can just choose 2 cards. Doesn't target, just 2 cards of your choice, because there's a link to. If you happen to summon this with both Sequence and Requiem connected, then you get to choose 3 cards. A lot of times you're only going to choose one, the important negate if you have to. You can choose up to 2 cards in this situation and just negate it. So if your opponent plays, I don't know, Imperm, they play Raigeki or whatever, just negate it. So that's one. This one protects your White Forest cards. As I mentioned, you're not going to really use that much. It's kind of there for damage. This one's crazy. You can spend half your life points, target a card and blow it up, and then afterwards, if you control another Diabell monster, you get to summon a Synchro Tuner from your deck, which is what we're going to do next by summoning the one, the only Mystic Mystery of the White Forest. And the most basic way to explain this is essentially the White Forest version of Formula Synchron. When it's summoned, you get to set 2 monsters, 2 White Forest monsters in the back row, And the only reason why it's important is because some of the cards in the White Forest engine require you to send a spell or trap. But also because when you summon this, you can actually quick effect and summon into the brand new Snake Eye Execute Dragon. And this card, in order to pop during the battle phase, requires you to choose a monster on the field and then one spell or trap that's in either back row, essentially. Now you'll notice that I don't have Chaos Angel anymore, and the reason why is because you're kind of running out of space in this deck of some kind of interruption of play, and Chaos Angel and Snake Eyes Execute Dragon, they serve the same purpose. You know, the cool thing about Chaos Angel is it can protect your synchro monsters from effects, and also if you use a dark card for it, you can protect yourself from getting destroyed as well. But I think this card is better because upon summoning, there's a quick effect where you can just target a monster in the field and send it in the back row, and then during the battle phase, you get to pop a monster and a continuous spell or trap. So in my opinion, it's a lot better. Keep in mind though, you can only use that once every other turn essentially. So if I activate it now, I can't play it the next turn. Now Duel, what she used to do, she used to just be a target to summon either Zapper Shrimp or Formula Synchron, which you can then go into something like Chaos Angel. But because we're running out of space, the only thing I'm going to use her for now is to send a spell or trap from the field or the hand. And now I'm going to use it to summon Silvera, which basically flips your entire opponent's monsters face down, which is great for stopping linking. It's great for stopping Exceed summoning. Fusion summoning, you can still fusion summon if you have the right cards, but this is a crazy interruption. This card is insane. And finally, you also have Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. This has two effects. Either you can summon a Fiend Illusion of Spellcaster from your hand as long as you control one, or two, fusion summon one monster using materials from your hand or field. So it's like a generic fusion, which you can technically use to play Guardian Chimera, which I actually have in my current TCG deck. But once these new cards come out, I much prefer running Saint Azamina and Azamina instead. So all this is going to do is potentially go into those cards if the conditions are right. So in this situation, I can technically go into Saint Azamina. Let's say in theory, you know, I use both of these cards. I can then activate it and then summon Saint Azamina as well. Doesn't really do much, but next turn I can, you know, use Azamina by triggering my opponent's card and mine to do something that makes sense. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end our turn. I don't know what, I think my bot opponent is literally running Moki Moki. So Bao's gonna come back. I'm gonna put her right here. Make sure you always have space for Bao after you banish her. You can't resummon her in the extra zone, obviously, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so let's see what our opponent's gonna do with their Moki Moki deck. So as you can see, I have a lot of options already popping up. I'm gonna go ahead and just be as annoying as possible to the CPU. Oh, that card's dead, bro. Go ahead and activate this. I'm going to drop a Stellar and just blow this card up right now. Destroy. Gone. Eviscerated. Reduced to atoms. You don't exist anymore. Next. That's all you're gonna do. I mean, it's a CPU, but you kind of get to see what the goal is with the deck. Now, something else I really like about Bao and why I like running this card. Watch what happens when we go to standby phase. I have 3 cards in my hand, right? Watch this. Boom. So the way Bao works is based on how many different monster types you have in your graveyard, you get to draw that many cards, and then put that many cards back in the bottom of your deck in any order. So it kind of lets you basically mulligan your hand just in case. So we got Ash, we already have one, and let's send LZ away. Boom. Not that you really need it in this situation, but you never know. If there's a grind game situation, it's gonna come up. So that's why you should only use that card sparingly. It doesn't matter. It's going to the bottom of the deck anyways. We won. So I can't do it right now because my opponent didn't set anything. But something else that Duel Star does is, like I said, it pops a card by paying half your life points, and then it summons a card. Actually, let's go ahead and end our turn just so we can kind of do that real fast. I should have done that the second they played anything. I figured they would do something else. Perfect. Moki Moki's about to die. Actually, let them do anything else. No, they're not. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and activate Duel Star now. But pay half our life points to destroy this unbeatable monster. And then we're going to activate the second effect to summon Mystic of the Mystic Mystery of the White Forest. And I'm not going to activate the second effect because we don't really need to. My opponent's not doing anything else though, so it doesn't really matter. But you can see me do this. I'm going to go into my Snake Eye Dragon. So we'll do, actually we'll use you and you. Can I put myself up there? Yeah, I can't. I already clicked too late. So you can summon Duel Star once per turn from the graveyard to hand. So if I would have put Snake Eye Execute Dragon up here, I could have brought the card back next turn, but it doesn't really matter. But essentially, this is what the deck can do at full power. So the real question is what happens when you fight against a real opponent, right? If someone's actually fighting back, obviously if they're not doing anything, what can the deck do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Voice inside my head that I should probably get checked out. We're gonna go do that right now. As soon as I finish this box. Yeah, get out of here. Look at them. They quit before I even did the final blow. So the cool thing about this simulator is there's a lot of decks I can play against that are actually very good because the AI is very good in this game. So let's do something simple. Let's do Albaz. Because Albaz can do a lot. And do I want to go second? Let's go first because they do run like Maxi, Ash Blossom, all that stuff, which is illegal in TCG, but you know what I mean. Let's see what happens here. Turn my toggle on just in case. And look at that. They're frame one Maxieing me. Okay, so what do I do to play around Maxi in this situation? Well, honestly, I don't have to do anything because I have all the goods. Let's just set up for next turn. We'll activate you first. And I think I'm just gonna normal summon Sylvie. And then that's it. I might regret this. But Forbidden Droplet basically has to get me there. Do you have Ash, Imperm, or anything? They don't. Let's go for Tails. And I'm just gonna set. And set, because we're not playing the Maxi. Maxi's insane. If they play Fuvalos, I could do a lot more, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna be smart about it. Because they have 4 cards in their hand, and we know what to stop in a branded deck, which comes down to it. Ooh, Fusion Deployment is a great card. All right, are you gonna discard here? They are. That's great. Go ahead and activate. Ooh, but they sent Xehanort. Let's activate Impermanence first. Because they can't destroy me by battle the first time, so we're safe there. They already did a normal summon. If they don't have Branded Opening or Branded Fusion, we're chilling here. You ain't gotta worry about nothing. But they're gonna use this to recycle a branded card if it comes down to it. They have Nadir Servant. Wow. Okay. That's fine. They sent, it's annoying because they're gonna probably set branded in red afterwards. We have to Forbidden Droplet here. Let's go ahead and stop this. We'll drop the new Diabell Star because we can summon that from the graveyard anyways. Boom. Let's half that real fast. There we go. And I think we're still fine, to be honest. Because they can't do anything. We're just going to take 300 damage here. This field spell is actually kind of insane. And then what do you set? Oh, nothing. You're just preparing for next turn. Beautiful. As long as they don't have Maxi, we can still... Doesn't matter, because we look at this bot, bro. Get out of here. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're gonna do. I say that as if I have more than one option. We have literally one option. We're going to activate Tales of the White Forest. I can bring this back technically because I have a trap. We're not gonna do it yet. I'm gonna activate Tales of the White Forest first and hope that they don't have. They don't. And I have the luxury of adding LZ, but we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna do LZ Azamina White Forest first. Then we're gonna go ahead and show them this card. Look at that cool card. Ooh, you looked at it. I got to summon it. And then with this, we're going to go into our Arciela. And because we have a spell or trap to send, we can go into Arciela. Otherwise, plan B is to summon Silvera, which we don't have to do, right? I could do Silvera. Silvera will flip this face down. We'll do that anyways. We'll show you the beauty of Silvera here in a second anyways. Arciela. Activate. We're gonna do Chain Link 1, then Chain Link 2. Do I want to save this? Because I feel like I don't need Forbidden Droplet right now. We're not gonna summon anything, right? Let's just send Droplet for now. I might misplay it, but I'm just thinking in content creator mode right now. I don't know if sending Droplet was the correct choice, but let's pretend it is. So we got to add a card. We're gonna go ahead and cycle through what we can play actually. So I could technically re-add Witches, which will let me go into this, which then lets me go into Diabells, or I can add this. So I think for the purpose of the video, let's just add Witches again. Which means I probably should have just, you know, sent Witches rather than, you know, sending my Forbidden Droplet. Yeah, let's do that. And then we also got to add a Sinful Spoils card. Let's go ahead and grab beautiful. Okay, So, should I do this correctly? If I play this, I'm gonna be locked out of this. Yeah, actually, no, I shouldn't have done it that way. I shouldn't have done it that way. Because this, I could summon this. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just ignore that deception for now. Not that it matters that much. Add you. I guess I can just get rid of this. I'll activate it because as long as it's sent to the graveyard while it's face up, it'll recycle itself later. Activate this to send you. Stuff right there. And honestly, do I? Yeah, no, I grab this. Yeah, I don't need a Stellar in this situation. And now, we're going to go into Duel, sorry. Queen of the White Forest. Let's add a White Forest card back because we can recycle it. So we'll grab, I'm thinking, Tails. Did I activate this turn or was that last turn? That was this turn, right? I don't remember. Memory of a fish. Activate it and send Tails away. Let's see if it comes back. Find out. Boom. Yeah, I was right. Okay. So we're gonna chain block. So we're gonna activate this and activate this. Which will reset itself. Two right there. That ghost spell, I feel like they could have stopped that, I think. Send curse. Curse is gonna let me add Phileas, which we don't really need. That's fine, because we're gonna use Phileas to actually banish itself to make our Duel card stronger. And then boom. Duel Star. The Sin Adjudicator. Activate this to make our Duel card stronger. And we will now, I think we just activate this effect, spend half our life points, blow this up. And then we're going to summon our you. I also could technically summon the Silvera and then book the field and then double piercing damage, but we don't have to worry about it. We won. Activate this. Let's set, I guess, that and that. Just in case we need to use cost, but we don't have to worry about that. I forgot he can do that. Let's say no. We'll send Tails away. We're just gonna book their field upon them doing that. I forgot all about that. Let's put you right here, actually. Boom. But they already activated once, so it doesn't really matter. We got our double piercing damage here, actually. Activate. Go face down for me. This is still the same. This is still the same turn. But the thing is, this is gonna book immediately because the move already resolved. So this doesn't matter. Like we don't care about this. All right. So how do we win here? Easy. We're gonna go into our Snake Eye Dragon. Let's do you, and we already have, yeah, we already have that set. So what we'll do is we're just gonna go into battle here, right? Yeah. Battle. And we can activate this. Blow up you. And I guess you doesn't really matter. The effect's gonna activate, but we don't care about that because we already won. And then we just go for a lot of damage. 1 billion damage even. This does double piercing damage. We have you. But oh no! But that's only 6,000 damage! Rhyme, how will you win? I'm gonna summon the spirits of the White Forest. Sylvie, come back! Which we just sent back from our field. And deliver the final blow. Now we can act. It's negated. Keep that in mind. Boom. That is the basic White Forest play / combo that you can do in this deck. This is a long video. All right, and finally, let's talk about ratios and why I chose the cards that I chose. Because you're gonna look at this deck and be like, really? These are at 1? What's wrong with you? Yeah, Witches of the White Forest at 2? What's wrong with you? Explain, Rhyme. This deck sucks. Well, I'll get into it. So, First things first, you gotta embrace the hand traps. Yu-Gi-Oh! Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically is all about hand traps. You can assume your opponent will always have at least 2, maybe 3 hand traps, whether it be Ash Blossom, Imperm, Fuvalos, or one of these 3. And unfortunately, if somebody's activated, your turn ends. A lot of mistakes that are made by people nowadays is they tend to just assume your opponent has nothing. If you go full combo and do your main combo first and you get Ash and your turn ends, that's kind of on you as a player. So every time you go first, always assume there's a possibility your opponent has Nibiru, Ash Blossom, Impermanence, and they have something to stop your main combo from happening. So the reason why I have one of each isn't to hit your opponent with Droll, Veiler, or Nib, it's to cross it out. I play cross out at 3 in my main version of this deck because in the TCG, as I mentioned earlier, this is at 3. And also I have call by as well. So I have 4 cards that stop hand traps essentially. We have cross out for something like Nibiru, and then we have the 1 call by for any of these. And the beauty of this deck, even though cross out is once per turn, if I happen to open up with 2, I have 1 to protect me and 1 to use as cost for any of my White Forest cards. So I guess it makes sense. But then you might look at something like Witches of the White Forest and be like, this is an incredibly important field spot. Why do you have 2? Again, I'd rather have 40 cards than 41. Honestly, I don't want to ever open up and only be able to play this. And the reason why is because you do get locked out of your Dark Extra Deck cards, which is the way to stop essentially your opponent from just killing you with Nibiru turn 1. If you happen to activate Witches of the White Forest first and start your combo, while you can do most of everything, you do still get screwed by Nibiru essentially, because if you can't summon this to protect yourself from Nibiru or potentially that extra hand trap that might have, you're not doing much. In fact, let's actually do it. Let's do this real fast. So the beauty of this app, I can also literally just set up my opening hand. So we're gonna do that right now for the purpose of this test hand. As you can see, I can't play. If I went second, this is great. In fact, if I'm going second, I'm gonna ruin my opponent's day. I'm gonna Droll them, I'm gonna Veiler them, I'm gonna Nib them. They can't do anything about it. I'm also use Fuvalos. But let's pretend that they have nothing, and I'm gonna show you the quick line this way. So I think let's do the Stellar line because I haven't really played a Stellar in this video. I will argue a Stellar is a better normal summon than Sylvie, but I understand that if you get Veilered or Imperm or Ashed on a Stellar, you lost a card. That means you have 3 cards in your hand and basically hope for something to happen. At least if you activate Sylvie or normal summon Sylvie and that gets Impermed or Ashed or Veilered, you still have 4 cards to play. So I get why people say Sylvie's better, but I'd much rather resolve this. But I think nobody will deny that resolving this is way better. Okay, so we send out of the way. We go into Sylvie. The whole point of this combo, this is not going to be completely the same as it was earlier. This shows you the combo not using the Dark Extra Deck cards. So again, you're going to go for Tails. And then we're going to go into our Arciela play immediately. Boom. Arciela into attack mode. With Arciela, sorry. We're going to send our Tails of the White Forest, which is going to reset itself. And we're going to go ahead and grab, I think we do LZ, right? Where is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. Azamina LZ. Again, this is the best card in the deck. Now notice how this pops up. That's because the other effect that Stella has is a spell trap is sent to activate a monster effect. It recycles itself. So we get another body that we can use to go into the Fiendsmith engine. Because guess what? All the Fiendsmith cards are light. Boom. And then boom. Okay. Now we're not going to go into Diabelle, the Queen of White Forest just yet. We're going to do this first. Always go for this first. At this point, if we get nibbed, I think it's just GG's because we don't really have an Omni Negator we can set up. But guess what? Me running cross out at 3 is fantastic for that reason. Go ahead and activate this. And I think the only option that we can really grab is going to be Azamina LZ. Sorry. LZ of the White Forest. Go ahead and grab that. And then we're going to go into our Diabelle play right now. Diabelle using Azamina LZ. That's why there's so many tongue twisters. All the names are the same, man. Boom. We're going to do Chain Link 1 and then Chain Link 2. The reason being is LZ doesn't do anything crazy right now because I'm locked out of my extra deck Dark Monsters at this point. But what you can do is you're going to grab Wanted. So let me show you how you can still get on a crazy board this way. And then we grab that. Again, the only reason why we're grabbing Tails again is just to have something to send for LZ. So we'll send you away. Make sure you don't misclick. The best part about TCG and playing paper Yu-Gi-Oh! Is you never misclick. We'll go ahead and grab Diabelle's White Witch. And then we're going to go ahead and activate Wanted. Just to get Diabell Star in our hand. You'll probably never search this with Wanted, but if you have it as an extra card, I guess you can. But you're always gonna go for a normal Diabell Star still. And then from here, we're gonna do our classic, a classico. Fiendsmith play again. We're going to Moon. Again, the only reason why I play Moon is because it's a generic card to get your Fiendsmith Requiem out. Link 1's gotta be the most broken cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Activate this. Similar to what we saw last time. Go into Lacrima. Lacrima is going to send Engraver. Here's something cool you can do. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this deck is very cohesive. You're gonna go ahead and connect Requiem to Lacrima. And then we're going to activate this and send Requiem, because Requiem now is a equipped spell to summon Diabells. Remember, what do we send with her? That's right, Curse! Curses! And Curse. Check this out. Curse is going to add Phileas into my hand when it's sent to the graveyard. Now we activate Phileas. Phileas and Ferb. Add Diabell Star. And then you're gonna go ahead and send Diabell Star, the new one, away for the old one. Because the beauty of the brand new Diabell Star is you get to summon her from the graveyard or from the hand, which is great. Let's go ahead and set this. Doesn't really matter. As I mentioned, you are locked out of your Omni Negate here. But the beauty of this card is frame 1. Next turn, if you use a Illusion and Spellcaster, you can summon Sylvius. Keep that in mind as well. Alright. Next we're gonna do is activate Engraver. Send Moon back. Make sure you don't send Requiem because you need that to go into Desiree. Boom. Then we do this. A little bit of that, a little bit of this. Activate. And activate Fiendsmith Sequence Effect. Create Desiree. Card is insane. Did I mention that Desiree has 2 effects? I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning. Desiree has another effect. When Desiree leaves the field, you can shuffle a Fiendsmith card back and then send a card on the field to the graveyard. So not only is this a negate, if this dies, you get to kill something on the field for free. And because we can't go into dark cards, we can go ahead and just do this. Boom. Right, now we're going to get Diabell Star out. Remember, you banish Phileas Ferb. Phileas first. And then Curse. And guess what? Because Diabell Star is also a Diabell monster, reaps the benefits. And then this is essentially what our field will look like in the end. Now, the second I end phase is going to blow me up. But what I also could do is frame 1. The second it becomes my turn, I can flip Sinful Spoils and then use either Diabells and Diabell Star, or maybe Diabell Star and Diabell. Or you know what you can even do? After you activate Diabell to Book of Moon something and you summon Silvera, you can immediately flip Sinful Spoils and use Diabell Star and that Sync or Spellcaster you just summoned to make your Omni Negate. So there's a lot you can do, basically. Alright, so I hope that explains why I did what I did. Another one that's probably questionable. People are like, you play Fubulosa 3? Yes, this card is insane. And I also have Perulia and Meowls in my side deck for an option to change out. Let's say my opponent has a bunch of cards that they summon from their hand, like Regenesis. I can swap this out for that. If they're playing Malice, I can swap out 2 for that. That way I have 2 and 1, essentially. Or I can do 1 and 2. You know, I can kind of change my ratios that way. You also have Ghost Spell and Ghost Ogre. I also have Ultimate Slayer along with Aggregator, which you can use to basically out your opponent's Ryzeal. If you go second and they set up Detonator, you just activate this card, you send this, you negate their field spell, and then you send Detonator back into the graveyard, or into the hand. Or extra deck, technically. And then also, I have Dominus Purge, which I don't normally play. I've been dabbling with it. But essentially what this is like an extra Ash Blossom. However, if you activate it from your hand, you can no longer activate Dark, Water, or Fire types for the rest of the duel. Which is fine, because the only fire card I use in this deck is Ash Blossom. So if I get in a situation where I really have to stop something, whether it be like a Maxi in the OCG, or if I stop like Fubulosa or something like that, I think that's a fair trade-off. I'll probably never use Ash Blossom anyways for the rest of the duel. But you do get locked out of your dark cards, so keep that in mind. It will kill your Sylvia, Arceolago, and your bow as well as your SP Little Knight. But again, it's situational. If there's a situation where you have Ash and this, you Ash first. If you try to add something else, you can activate this, and at that point, if you can interrupt one more time, their turn is pretty much over. So it's kind of decent, actually. All right, with that said, that is my first tutorial video, how to get better Yu-Gi-Oh series, whatever you want to call it. If you have any feedback in how to make this more understanding, let me know. If you want to see more of this as well, let me know. But I think anybody can get really decent at Yu-Gi-Oh. Just you gotta change your mindset a lot of how to play. Because again, a lot of people, what I noticed from my last couple years of playing is they play Yu-Gi-Oh in a way where it's like, I'm gonna build my board, rather than what does my opponent have and how can they stop me? Once you start thinking about what's in your opponent's hand, then your path to your end board greatly changes. And honestly, you'll probably notice that you'll get a lot better at the game as well if you start building your deck that way, rather than let me play with one card, it gets negated, and now you're angry because there's nothing you can do. And then you end your turn, and then you watch your opponent pop off for 20 minutes, and you just die. Yeah. So, let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions about this deck specifically, let me know as well. Other than that, good luck. And unfortunately, we do have to wait until May to get these cards. But hey, if you play any of these simulators, they're already available. And I'll tell you right now, these are by far the most fun cards I've ever played in the last 25 years that Yu-Gi-Oh's existed. I know it's kind of crazy to say, but this deck is so much fun. There's so much you can do with it. But yeah, that's everything. God, this is a long video. Again, I mentioned I'm going to do duels against real people now, maybe in like a part 2. So if you want to see a part 2 with this deck, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned, I guess in the future for when I do the next how to play this deck video thing. I don't know. I'll see you guys in the next upload.